confessing. Socks, bets, and AutoZone. A night to remember. One slow night working as a manager at AutoZone, I got a call from an older gentleman saying, "I lost a bet and now I need to go into AutoZone and buy something naked." Being bored and confused, I went along with it, thinking it was just a prank call, and replied with something like, "Sure, come right in. The place is empty, so if you're quick, you can get this over with. But make sure you wear socks. It's store policy." I chuckled to myself after hanging up, confident it was a joke. About 15 minutes passed, and I had already forgotten about the call. But then, I kid you not, a naked man walks into AutoZone wearing only socks. I stood there dumbfounded for a solid 10 seconds before getting my co-worker's attention. "Hey, check this out," I whispered, trying to process the surreal sight in front of me. My co-worker turned, took one look, and just froze, mouth slightly open. The man, looking around nervously but with a strange determination, walked up to the counter. "Hey, I'm the guy from earlier. Can you sell me something really fast, please?" I was still in shock but managed to squeak out, Yeah, sure. What do you need?" He fumbled in his hand, holding what looked like a packet of air fresheners. "This. Just ring it up. Quick, please." As I scanned the item, I couldn't help but ask, "So, what's the story here?" He sighed, looking over his shoulder like someone might burst through the door at any moment. "My buddies dared me. Lost a bet during poker night. They're waiting in the car to make sure I go through with it." At this point, I didn't know whether to laugh or be impressed. My co-worker, meanwhile, was trying his best to stifle a fit of laughter behind a stack of wiper blades. "Okay, sir, that'll be $3.99, I said, handing him the receipt with as much professionalism as I could muster. He grabbed the bag and bolted out of the store, mumbling a "thanks" on his way out. Through the window, I saw a group of guys in a car howling with laughter as he jumped in, and they sped away. My co-worker finally let loose, doubling over in laughter. "You're never going to live this down," he said, tears forming in his eyes. And he was right. For weeks, it became the main topic of conversation at work. Customers would walk in, and my coworkers would casually say, "Hey, did you hear about the naked AutoZone guy?" By the time the corporate caught wind of it, they didn't even seem mad, just amused. "Just, maybe don't encourage people to walk in naked next time," my district manager said with a smirk during our next check-in call. After the call with my district manager, I sat back in my chair, still trying to wrap my head around the whole situation. It was one thing for the event to become a running joke among my coworkers, but for corporate to acknowledge it. That was a new level of surreal. The following week, the story spread like wildfire among neighboring stores. Anytime I walked into another AutoZone or called a manager at a different location, the same question greeted me. "Hey, you're the naked guy manager, right?" I started to wonder if this was going to be my legacy. Forget the countless times I hit my sales goals or trained new hires. No, I was now the guy who managed a store where a naked dude in socks bought an air freshener. One day, a regular customer, old Joe, came in and gave me a sly grin. "Heard you had quite the excitement here last week," he said, leaning on the counter like he was settling in for a good story. "Joe, I don't even know what to tell you. It was an experience," I replied, shaking my head. "Well," he said with a chuckle, "it's not every day you get to say you sold something to a streaker. Maybe he'll be back for motor oil next time." As the days went on, the story somehow grew. According to a friend who worked at a competing auto parts store, their manager had asked in a meeting, "Why don't we have fun stories like AutoZone? Maybe we need better promotions." I wasn't sure if I should be flattered or horrified, but then, about a month later, the icing on the cake arrived. I was opening the store when I noticed a package sitting on the counter. It didn't have a return address, just a note taped to the top that read, "Thanks for not kicking me out." Inside was a pair of socks, a clean, brand new pair with AutoZone logos stitched into them. Next to the socks was a small note card. Lost the bet, kept my dignity. Kinda. Thanks for being a good sport. Signed, Naked AutoZone Guy. I couldn't stop laughing. I taped the card to the break room bulletin board where it became a legend in its own right. From then on, we referred to those socks as the Naked Guy socks, and they became part of our unofficial store lore. Anytime a new hire asked about them, we'd all gather around and tell the story with exaggerated details, like how he sprinted out of the store or how his buddies drove off laughing hysterically. In hindsight, it became a story that made those slow nights at AutoZone feel a little brighter. And every now and then, when someone comes in looking for air fresheners, I can't help but smile, wondering if the Naked AutoZone Guy is out there somewhere, still laughing about the time he became a retail legend. The socks stayed on the bulletin board for a good few months, gathering their own kind of fame. They became a sort of rite of passage for new employees. Every time we hired someone new, the older staff would point to the socks and say, "All right, so before you can truly call yourself a part of this team, you have to hear the story behind those." It was our version of an icebreaker, and without fail, the story got bigger and more elaborate with each retelling. By the time the holidays rolled around, the Naked AutoZone Guy had achieved full urban legend status. One coworker suggested we put the socks on top of our Christmas tree as a star. "Think of it as paying tribute to our weirdest night ever," he said, and honestly, we all agreed. The socks sat proudly at the top of our tree that year, and customers constantly asked about them. "Why do you have socks up there?" they'd say, and the staff would exchange knowing glances before diving into the tale. Corporate even leaned into the humor. Someone from marketing sent us a cheeky email with the subject line, "Socks and Sales, a match made in AutoZone." They attached a picture of custom AutoZone socks they were considering as part of a giveaway campaign. My district manager followed up with a joke. "If you ever see another naked customer, at least now you can offer them a fresh pair." Things quieted down after the holidays and life went back to normal, or as normal as it could be in retail. That is, until one day, about 6 months after the original incident, when a familiar face walked through the door. I didn't recognize him at first, probably because this time he was fully clothed. But as soon as he opened his mouth, I knew. "Hey, remember me?" he asked, his voice carrying that same nervous energy. It was Naked AutoZone Guy. The whole store seemed to freeze. A couple of my coworkers peeked out from behind shelves, their eyes wide with recognition. "I, just wanted to say thanks," he said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "You know, for not calling the cops or, making a bigger deal out of it. My buddies still won't let me live it down, but I figured I owed you guys something for being so cool about it." He set a small box on the counter and slid it toward me. I opened it to find a set of gourmet donuts, each one decorated with tiny car parts made of fondant. "Well, this is a first," I said, trying not to laugh. "Yeah, I figured I'd try to make up for the, scene," he said, his face turning red. "Don't worry about it," I replied. "You gave us the best story we'll ever have in this place." We chatted for a few minutes, and he admitted that he couldn't walk into an AutoZone anywhere without feeling a twinge of embarrassment. His friends had even dubbed him Socks as a nickname. Before he left, one of my coworkers shouted, "Hey, you're always welcome back, just maybe with pants next time." The guy laughed, waved, and walked out, leaving the rest of us grinning. The donuts didn't last long, but the story, that's going to be around forever. And every so often, when a slow night at the store starts to drag, someone will say, "Remember the Naked AutoZone Guy?" And we all start laughing like it just happened yesterday. Years went by, and I eventually moved on from AutoZone to a different job, but the story of the Naked AutoZone Guy stuck with me. Every time I'd meet up with old coworkers or someone asked, "What's the weirdest thing you've ever experienced at work?" the tale would come tumbling out. It never failed to get a laugh, or, at the very least, a wide-eyed, "You're kidding me." It became more than just a funny story. It was a reminder of those unpredictable moments that make retail jobs both maddening and oddly magical. Working late nights in a store wasn't glamorous, but stories like that gave those hours a sense of shared camaraderie. Over time, I'd hear whispers that the naked AutoZone guy had become something of a folk hero among AutoZone employees. Managers would joke about adding socks required to the dress code, and some stores even started their own quirky traditions, like hanging socks in their break rooms. A couple of years after leaving AutoZone, I was at a party when someone started telling a story about this one guy who walked into a car parts store completely naked except for socks. I didn't say anything at first, just listened as they embellished the details. Finally, I couldn't hold back. "Actually," I said, grinning, "I was the manager that night." The room went silent for a beat, and then everyone exploded with questions. "No way. What did you do? Was it really only socks?" As I retold the story for the umpteenth time, I realized something. This one bizarre, unforgettable moment had become more than just a funny memory. It was a connection, a way to break the ice and make people laugh. Even now, when I drive past an AutoZone, I can't help but smile. I think about that quiet night, the guy nervously walking in, and the way the absurdity of it all brought people together. Life is full of unexpected moments, and sometimes it's the weirdest ones that stick with us the most. The naked AutoZone guy may have come in as just another customer, but he left as a legend, and he left us all with a story we'll never stop telling. For more interesting daily life stories, make sure to subscribe and comment your ideas. I will be posting more stories about a lot of aspects of life. Thanks for watching. See ya!